Chuck Schumer's got the mask on, and look at Colbert, no mask, spreading pandemic viruses. Look, he's dancing, high-fiving and dancing with Chuck Schumer. What is this? Well, what kind of signaling is this?
Can you imagine Bill Hicks dancing with a senator?
Jesus Christ. Well, Colbert was never really a stand-up.
Yeah, like he's
Colbert and I
horrible
are
to
not
me.
friends.
Yeah, like those guys to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want everybody.
But the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like, he doesn't like me and I don't like him. And we don't deny it and we don't like it.
No, but he's nothing.
The fallout from Stephen Colbert's situation at CBS has turned into a major media spectacle, with plenty of comedians stepping up to defend the longtime late-night host. But not everyone is on board. Some outspoken critics are saying Colbert isn't the same entertainer he used to be. Leading that criticism are Bill Maher and Joe Rogan. Neither of them held back, arguing that Colbert has moved away from being America's favorite late-night comedian and become more of a political commentator, focused on Donald Trump. And then came Joe Rogan, who wasted no time delivering his strongest criticism yet.
But these people are all friends, like Rachel Maddow and Democratic Party politicians. They're friends.
Have you ever seen a video of Chuck Schumer and Stephen Colbert dancing together?
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
You need to see it.
Do we have time?
You need to see it.
Yeah.
You need to just see them dancing together. and I feel the same way about comedians that you do about journalists. You know, like you can't be friends with those people because there's going to come a time where you have to talk about them.
Joe Rogan really turned up the heat when he criticized Colbert for being too closely tied to Democratic circles. Rogan's point wasn't that politicians should be hated. He was highlighting something much simpler. When media figures become too comfortable around people in power, it gets harder to challenge them honestly. That's where the problem begins. The closer the relationship, the less likely someone is to hold those people accountable. Rogan argued that this is why hosts like Colbert, Jon Stewart, and Jimmy Kimmel often face criticism for being tougher on one side than the other. In his view, Donald Trump became an easy target because he's outside their social and political circles. Meanwhile, criticism aimed at the left tends to be much lighter, or sometimes missing altogether. Whether people agree or disagree, it's a debate that continues to follow late-night television.
Dennis Miller ran into that with George Bush. I remember being incredibly disappointed because I was a Dennis Miller fan. As a comic, he was a very good comic. And, you know, his HBO special was brilliant. He had some great jokes, great one-liners.
Absolutely.
But then he said he was going to give George Bush a pass because he's his friend, and he wouldn't make fun of him. Look at this. Chuck Schumer's got the mask on, and look at Colbert, no mask, spreading pandemic viruses.
Rogan didn't stop there. He continued criticizing Colbert, saying he had drifted away from what late-night comedy is supposed to do, challenge those in power with sharp and fearless humor. According to Rogan, Colbert traded satire for political messaging, leaning heavily into an anti-Trump approach that, in his view, lost much of the balance that made audiences connect with him in the first place. He also pointed to moments during the pandemic that critics saw as inconsistent, arguing that public figures should be held to the same standards they encourage others to follow. For Rogan, the bigger issue goes beyond one comedian. He believes comedy works best when it questions everyone equally, regardless of politics. And when comedians become too closely aligned with any side, he argues, they risk losing the independent voice that made people listen to them in the first place.
Imagine Bill Hicks dancing with a senator.
Jesus Christ. Well, Colbert was never really a stand-up, so, I mean, I guess he has that.
No, but I mean...
But he was a comic when the Colbert Report was on. I mean, that was hilarious.
It was really good.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. And that show was a great takeoff of pompous, ridiculous Republican.
Exactly.
I mean, it was really good. And then when you see this, you're like, wait a minute. What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing?
And why were you doing the other thing before? Like,
right.
was it to do this?
Well,
according to Rogan's critics of modern media, a lot of today's comedians aren't focused on speaking truth to power anymore. Instead, they argue that comedy has become a path to influence, fame, and access to the same elite circles that comedians once loved to make fun of. The argument is simple. Once the invitations, major deals, and connections start coming in, it's harder to stay independent. For some, challenging the system takes a backseat to becoming part of it. The rebellious image that helped build their careers slowly fades, replaced by the benefits that come with being close to powerful people. Rogan suggested that this shift is exactly what happened with Colbert. In his view, Colbert's repeated criticism of Trump wasn't about holding power accountable. It was about appealing to the audience in institutions that supported that message. He believes Colbert went from being an outsider looking in to someone fully invested in the establishment. And that's where Rogan says the story takes an interesting turn. Here's how he explains Colbert's journey from comedian to media insider.
I think what happened was, and I'm just going to guess, but I think what happened was he had this brilliant character. It was amazing on The Daily Show. Then he does the Colbert Report. It's amazing there. It's a great show, right? And then they offer him carrot. What's the carrot? The carrot's a late night talk show.
Right.
Man, the late night talk show for, I guess, kind of my generation was the thing that everybody wanted. Kimmel and Fallon and all these guys. Like, you got to host the Tonight Show, or Jimmy Kimmel's got his own show. You got your own show. You got the Letterman show. You got the this show, the that show. That was the thing, man.
Right.
If you could get your own show like that, like, you were in. If they offered it to you, you took it.
Joe Rogan's theory has definitely sparked plenty of debate. To some, it isn't a conspiracy at all. It's a pattern they've seen before. The argument is that as comedians gain bigger platforms, they often become more connected to the very institutions they once criticized. Critics say Colbert's move to The Late Show marked a turning point. With a massive audience, major contracts, and access to influential circles, they believe his style changed over time. What was once sharp satire became more political commentary, particularly when it came to Donald Trump. Whether that shift was intentional or simply a natural evolution is up for debate, but Rogan believes it wasn't an accident. In his view, Colbert's comedy became less about taking shots at everyone equally and more about speaking to a particular audience. And according to Rogan, that's only part of the story.
To be that show guy, he has to be a different guy. So now he's not. Colbert from the show was this genius parody. Now he's just Stephen Colbert.
Right.
That's who he is.
They destroyed the essence.
Well,
by giving him something.
The best example of it was when Jon Stewart came on, and Jon Stewart was doing that bit about the lab leak theory, and Colbert is jumping in and stepping all over it.
Right.
And I'd like to see some evidence of that. Like, he's like f***ing up the bit. Clearly, Stewart, who's a great comic, is in the middle of a bit.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And Colbert's trying to, he's like, you could see the panic in his eyes that this is not going along with the narrative. So he's hamstringing the bit.
Right.
Which is crazy to see.
Everyone has biases. That's just part of being human. We all have opinions and political preferences. But critics argue that Colbert's views became impossible to ignore, and over time, his show felt less like comedy and more like political commentary. Many point to moments during the pandemic, like his widely discussed vaccine-themed musical segment, as examples of that shift. To them, it wasn't satire at its best, but a sign that late-night television had become more focused on promoting a message than challenging those in power. The criticism is that Colbert stopped aiming his jokes in every direction and instead focused on supporting one side while relentlessly targeting the other. Whether that's fair or not depends on who you ask, but it's a debate that has followed his career for years. For his critics, comedy should question power, not become comfortable with it.
Like, I think that's true with comics, with any kind of journalist. Like, once you start getting, handed things, then you've lost. You know what I mean? They have you at that point. And you got to get out of that habit, It's like, or you can't cross that line.
You can't cross that line. You can't. But if you want to be on a talk show, you have to cross that line. There's no other way you get on that show. You can't get on that show and have some real counterculture narrative that is not approved and sanctioned, and you spit it out there on NBC.
For critics of late-night television, Jon Stewart's return is another example of how influential media figures are brought back into the spotlight when the timing feels right. They argue that these personalities don't simply disappear, they step away and return when audiences are ready to hear a familiar message. In this view, modern political comedy has become increasingly scripted, with less room for independent voices and more focus on delivering predictable takes. What once felt bold and rebellious now feels, to some, carefully packaged and aimed at a specific audience. Their biggest criticism is that many comedians no longer challenge power, they work alongside it. And when that happens, they say, comedy stops being about speaking truth and starts becoming another part of the system.
But isn't that crazy that you're right, that all the comics that were supposed to put everybody to bed or whatever it is, they all went bananas left. I mean, Colbert, these guys are terrible. Like Kimmel to me is just, you may be friends with him. I know a lot of people
I love Jimmy.
Yeah, like he is
Colbert and I
horrible
are
to
not
me.
friends.
Yeah, like those guys to me, they're just the worst sort of partisan nonsense. You want everybody.
But the good part of that is we don't hide it. Like, he doesn't like me and I don't like him. And we don't deny it and we don't like it.
No, but he's nothing.
Colbert?
Yeah, he's nothing.
He's also very successful.
No, but he's just giving the machine what it wants.
Bill Maher has never been shy about criticizing Stephen Colbert. Over the years, he's accused him of catering too much to industry insiders and avoiding criticism of the people he agrees with politically. Maher and others who share his view argue that Colbert isn't an outsider challenging the establishment, he's become part of it. Joe Rogan has made similar points, questioning whether Colbert was ever the right fit for one of late night's biggest stages. To his critics, the issue isn't just his politics. They believe his comedy lost the sharp, unpredictable edge that once defined great late night hosts. Instead, they see a performer who traded independence for a larger platform and a loyal audience. Whether that's a fair assessment or not, it's a criticism that continues to follow Colbert today.
For my differences with you, I totally respect you.
Is well said.
Yeah.
Giving the machine what it wants. I wish I had thought of that phraseology.
Critics argue that viewers didn't turn to late night TV to be lectured. They came for smart, balanced comedy that could take shots at everyone. They wanted surprises, fresh perspectives, and humor that wasn't afraid to challenge all sides. According to those critics, Colbert's show gradually became too predictable, with repeated political themes that overshadowed the comedy itself. They believe audiences didn't change, the show did. For them, Colbert's decline isn't just a story about ratings. It's about a comedian they feel drifted away from what made late-night television special in the first place. Bill Maher and Joe Rogan have both argued that comedy works best when it questions power, rather than aligning with it. Whether people agree or disagree, one thing is clear: Stephen Colbert remains one of the most debated figures in modern late-night television. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this commentary, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.